But this time was different. It's like it was the same. So even though there were a lot of things I was letting go of, it was the same I am no matter where I went. It was the same presence. So even though there were things that were missing, it was the same presence. There was the same sense of aliveness. There was the same base. And then when I was sitting in a cafe not thinking about anything, this break began to happen where that presence stopped being inside of me, and it felt like it was going out of my eyes into the room, and then this energetic shift happened, and it changed everything, and it changed the person a lot. But there's still emotional release that I do, there's still conditioning that needs adjusting, but it did change a lot on the human level. But there was just like a break, that happened, where the human was no longer the experiencer, and it was just really, really clear, without a doubt. But it wasn't for me, it wasn't for the person, it just was the way it was, and it felt like love. Presence was love. Suddenly love was everywhere, reflected everywhere, and was everything. And that was a huge awakening. Maybe we could just call it an awakening. And then since then there's been more and more over time the integration on the personal level to that. It did change a lot on the personal level, like instantly it changed a lot, but there's still an understanding of what happened. And it was funny, when I started speaking, I never intended to be a teacher. It was like I had begun to teach, but more it was like an expression of joy. And still sometimes it's a little confusing, because I understand that that's the role I am to most people, but it's also like an expression of joy. But then after now doing it for so many years, I also realize on the personal level I have to teach to an extent, because I've seen so many people fall into this hopelessness with non-duality, and that's not what non-duality is meant to be about. Non-duality is love, but it's that people take on non-duality and they become hopeless with it. They believe I am nothing, which is really destructive on the personal level, to believe you're nothing. And they've had a trauma as a child, feeling that they're nothing or not important, and then they take that thought and add it to that, and they just keep repeating that trauma, and they don't see beyond it. So on the human level, on the teaching level, I've had to, there's two different ways in which I speak. There is speaking about non-duality, which is a joy to express, and then there's the speaking about the person, which is a joy to express, but it's not like speaking about non-duality. Non-duality is my true passion, but I see that as a way, when you're speaking about it, you have to speak about both. You have to stop the person falling into a pit of despair and hopelessness, because that's a lot of the time what the tendency of the person does when it begins to see that there is nothing in the world but fulfill it. Before, it believes the objects will fulfill it. I will get there, and then when it begins to see it won't get there, it then's like, I'll never get there. It's hopeless, and it goes into that trauma. It's been running away from that trauma of hopelessness, and then it falls from one side, I am going to get there, to I'm not going to get there. And it's not true. That hopeless side isn't true either. It's a trauma from the past. It's your fear on the human level, your deepest fear. kind of find this funny. This that drink bottle. It's like I'm really speaking profound stuff, and then, like a child,